What is up, everybody? Hey, happy Sunday. Thanks for coming to my Sunday session. I'm going to do these try to do these like every 2 weeks. Just come here, hang out, have conversations, and bring you friends of mine that have interesting stories to share and information that could be helpful to you in your goal of life work balance, right? Because we are flipping that equation. It's not about work life balance, the living comes first. We are focusing on life work balance. And today, I want to talk about living in Tulsa, Tulsa Remote, and answer questions that I know I get asked all the time. And I know my friends here who also did Tulsa Remote get or got asked a lot, like, why Tulsa? And what are you going to do after the program? And are you going to stay? Yada, yada, yada. So if you don't know, my name is Labria Jones, also known as the Remote Work Queen. I share information and resources to help people find and land remote jobs. I'm all about, again, life work balance. And I got paid $10,000 to move to Tulsa for 1 year. Hey, Tina, how you doing? And so I moved here a year ago, July 4th, and I just hit my year maybe 3 weeks ago. And we just had my year anniversary, and it was super fun. And then I'm going to introduce you to my friends here. And I'm going to start with Kim. And we're going to tell you our names, where we're from, and how long we've been in Tulsa. How about that? So I've been in Tulsa for a year. I moved here from Atlanta. Kim, your turn.
Good morning, everyone. So, my name is Kim Gray. I am originally from Gary, Indiana, but had been living in Chicago probably about 18 years before moving to Tulsa. And I have been here now about 2.5 years. I came February 2020, so just before pandemic hit.
Whew, 2.5 years. Also, I love Chicago so much. So
Yes.
much. All right. Jateria, what about you?
Okay, so I'm Jateria. I moved to Tulsa July of 2021 from the Metro Atlanta area, but I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, so I'm very familiar with the Charlotte area and also the Metro Atlanta area.
So you've been here for a year as well.
Yes, a year.
So I came in the beginning of July. You came at like the end?
I came the middle of July, but my
Middle.
orientation was in August.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So you don't technically hit your year until August. That makes sense. All right. Deshaun, what about you?
Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, get back and forth from you. My name is Deshaun Modest. I actually moved here from Orlando, Florida. I've been in Tulsa. I came here originally August of last year. I left in February-ish, and I recently came back about 2.5, almost 3 weeks ago.
We got a whole boomerang on here, y'all. We got
Yeah,
we
back
got
and
we got to learn
forth.
about this. We got a whole boomerang. Thank you for saying your last name. This whole time I thought it was Modest. This whole time.
So I actually spell it modest. It's a long story behind it because people always get it wrong, but it's actually pronounced modeste. It has a French derivative, so
Got
it's
it. Thank
yeah,
you for breaking that down. Because this whole time I've been like, yeah, Deshaun Modest. You know him.
yeah. That's
All
what
right.
that's what I go by.
Okay, so we're going to get into kind of sharing our stories about, how we found out about Tulsa Remote, why we decided to do the program, what it's been like here. But while we're talking, this is super informal. This is just a conversation. I know we're all like sitting in front of computers, so, it feels like Zoom calls. But this is just an informal conversation between friends in front of other people. So feel free to break in and ask questions in the comments, and we would be happy to answer them. Jacqueline Johnson said she's so excited to hear about Tulsa from everyone's perspective. Do me a favor, drop in the comments me if you have been interested in the Tulsa Remote program. Drop in the comments and say me if you've ever been like, I could be down to do the Tulsa Remote program. And since Kim, you are our veteran, can you tell us how you found out about Tulsa Remote and why you applied for the program?
Absolutely. So I don't remember the exact source. I think I read an article online. So Libria and I know each other through travel. I actually traveled around the world with her for a year. And so we're part of a lot of different travel communities, right? And in these communities, there are a lot of what you call digital nomads. And so, right, they pick up, they move wherever they want to go.
Mhm.
They're not tied to one place. They're often moving around. And so in one of these groups, I know an article was shared about Tulsa Remote. This would have been back in late 2019. At the time, I was living in Chicago. again, had been there about 18 years. I was really over the hustle, the bustle, the traffic, the congestion, the cost of living, all of that, and was looking for a place to move. I was wondering what was next for me. And so once I saw this article, I thought, why not apply? At the end of the day, it's a 12-month commitment. It was $10,000 for 12 months. And I thought, hey, let me give it a shot. And guess what? If I don't like it in 12 months, I move. Well, I decided not to move. I actually fell in love with Tulsa. I won't say that it was love at first sight, because it was not. However, after being here about 4 to 5 months, I really kind of got in my groove. I really started making connections, meeting people. I've now since bought a home.
Wait, you got to say some of this.
Yeah, okay, my bad.
We gonna come to that. Hold on. So you found out about Tulsa through a travel group. Somebody posted it, and you were like, "Oh, this looks interesting." And I will tell you, as she mentioned, Kim and I are friends. We traveled the world together for a whole year. We lived in 4 different countries for 3 months at a time. Had a blast. And when she applied for the Tulsa Remote program, I was like, "This girl moving to Tulsa? I mean, do you, sis? But Tulsa? Like, we were just living in Prague. What are you talking about? We were just in Thailand for 3 months. You going to Tulsa? All right."
And that's what I pretty much got from everybody.
From everybody. That was my
understood.
original response. But I will say this also. You were excited for this opportunity, this adventure, something new. And so for that reason, I was excited for you as well. I had no interest at the time. My mind wasn't even there. I was like, when Zion graduates, I'm going back to Columbia. Right? All right. So I will tell you, I think I'm the next senior person. Deshaun, when did you say you came in? February?
It was August.
I came in August and I came back.
So then I'm the next senior.
Yeah.
So I found out about the program from Kim, right? Because she told me that she had done the program. And the timing was just really good for me. Right. Again, Tulsa was not on my radar. I was like, my daughter's graduating high school. I'm taking my ass back to Columbia. Like I'm throwing the deuces. But I also was like, anybody paying me to move to Columbia though? So the timing was right. My daughter was graduating. And I had been in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta. Jateria, thank you for saying that. It's very important that we specify Metro Atlanta for the people that actually live in Atlanta, because we don't need them calling us out. I lived in Marietta. But I had been there for 15 years. So it was like, I'm ready for something different, ready for something new, ready for the next adventure. And quite frankly, my daughter didn't have a real plan for her life. And so I didn't feel comfortable leaving the country with her in that state. I wanted to be close. Never planned for her to come to Tulsa, but I didn't want to leave the country. You know what I mean? So I found out about the program from a girl, Kim, and was like, I mean, honestly, it just lined up. Right. So that's why I was down for it. What about you, Jateria? How did you find out about it?
Yeah, so I found out about the program through just doing research. I was a former travel blogger, so I was always looking for ways to travel, and I was interested in Tulsa Remote like in 2019. But I was just like, I didn't really see a lot of other people talking about it or doing it, so I was like nervous. But once the pandemic hit and I couldn't travel. I was looking for another way to be able to get a travel experience in a safe way possible. And I really believe that we can redefine travel. Travel doesn't always have to be traveling abroad. So for me, moving to this new state in the Midwest that I never, really knew anything about or never experienced would be my way to still be able to have travel. And eventually, I think it was like in May 2020, I applied to, or April 2020, I applied to Tulsa Remote. And then eventually I end up making my move here.
I love that you said that, because it's so true. Like, we always think travel means, passport stamps, and it doesn't always. And the US is actually, the cool thing about the US is almost any terrain that you can find out in the world, you can find somewhere in the States, right? We've got a huge variant of variety, that's the word I'm looking for, of landscapes and terrain, right? So we've got desert, we've got flatland, we've got hills, we've got, I think the only thing we don't have is jungles, right? For the most part, right? We got beaches, we got mountains, we got all kinds of stuff. Like, it's just, don't sleep on the States. And for Jateria, for you, question for you, was the Midwest, and this isn't technically the Midwest, but like it's not quite the South either. Like I looked it up. It is a Southern state, but it's not quite like it's somewhere in the middle between the South and the Midwest. Like it's not quite all of either of those and a little bit of both. So I'll ask this question though. Was the Midwest ever on your radar at all? Anywhere in the Midwest?
No.
No, not even Chicago.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's too cold up there. It's too cold up there. Oklahoma for sure was not on my radar. Like, I was like, Oklahoma, like people live there. Who lives in Oklahoma? Cowboys? I don't know. What about you, Deshaun? How did you find out about the program?
Well, I actually found out about the program while I was in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. I was living out there for a couple months on and off during the pandemic, near the end of the pandemic, and it was actually a coincidence. Like 3 different people had mentioned it. I think you all may know her, Anissa. I think most people know Anissa West that here. She was visiting a mutual friend, and we got to talk, and she was telling us about Tulsa. And then I think I had a game night or something. Somebody else mentioned looking into the Tulsa Remote program. I'm like, yeah, okay. And then I actually have a friend I grew up with in high school from Orlando who lives here. So I was like, okay, it's 3 times people are talking about Tulsa. Let me just go ahead and look into it. And the crazy part about it was I actually did my basic training here at Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Oh wow!
The worst. Yeah, it was. I told myself I would never come back to Oklahoma again. Seriously, we had 3
you
tornadoes.
A 3-time boomerang, a 2-time boomerang.
Yeah, basically, because we had 3 tornadoes during my basic training, and I was like, nah, this ain't for me. This is some bull. I'm done. I'm never coming back. Lo and behold, I ended up in Tulsa, and I'm back again. So, but yeah, so I heard about it through a mutual friend, 3 different people, and I believe in the power of 3s and just the power of just when you hit something repeated, look into it. So
I gotta say, it's wild as hell that you were in Mexico and was like, I'm gonna go to Tulsa. I'll leave Mexico and go to Tulsa. Of all things.
I mean, it wasn't my first choice. I just ended up, actually living in Playa. I'm not sure if you've been to Playa, but there's a huge black expat community there, and the way of living is just so much. You've been in Colombia. It's just a slower pace of living. And I actually came back to the U.S. because things opened up. My job said you had to come back in the office.
Okay.
I went to Atlanta. I went to school in Atlanta. I grew up in actually Smyrna. I lived in Smyrna. I had a house out there, and it was just too busy. I couldn't do it again. I was spending too much money hanging out with the Joneses, going to hookah bars every night. I think the Hawks were in the playoffs that time, so we were trying to go to games. I was looking at my check. I'm like, yo, something ain't adding up. This ain't right. And then so
math ain't mathing.
I said, oh yeah, they did mention Tulsa. Let me go look into that. I saw the cost of it. I was like, oh, okay, that might work. So yeah, it wasn't my first choice, but
Got it. Okay. So your first choice would have been to stay in Atlanta if you had that baller status.
If I had the baller status, yeah. If I had the baller status, my daughter lives there. It's great. I love the city. College there is just I can't afford it like that. And I don't think I want to anymore. Traffic. If you've lived in Atlanta for a while, you know how it is, the traffic. And then come to Tulsa and everything's like at tops 15 minutes away.
15 minutes away. So you know what? Thank you for saying that. I think Kim, you hit on this too. One of the draws of coming into the Tulsa Remote program is a lot of people here come from really big cities, right? Where the cost of living is pretty high. The living is fast. Deshaun, you just mentioned like how slow and easy it is in Mexico. That's how it was in Thailand. That's how it was in Colombia as well. And I've spent some time in Mexico as well. The living is slow. Like it's not so fast paced. You don't feel like you're getting left behind. And traffic, right? Traffic is not a problem. Atlanta is very spread out. And so a lot of people live here from, bigger cities because of the fact that they can remove themselves from the pressure of having to be in the middle of everything in big cities. And also they can save money. Like the things I save money on here in Tulsa is just my nails. Like my homegirl in Atlanta told me how much she spent on nails. And I was like, oh, friend. The first time I took my dog to the vet, I just knew it was about to be $300. They told me it was $115. And I was like, you sure you rang me up? Like my name is Libria. My dog's name is Tonka. You sure it's us? Somebody asked, do you get the $10K for relocation plus salary? Want to be really clear, Natural Bay, Tulsa Remote didn't hire us. So let's break down how the program works, okay? Maybe we each should just share a fact about how the program works. I will start with Tulsa Remote incentivizes people who already work remotely to move to the city for a year. So you have to already have a remote job, or you are an entrepreneur, a digital nomad, someone that works online, runs a business online, or works online. So they don't give us a salary; they just give us the $10,000 for living here.
I'll also add that you have to be a resident of another state. So you can't be moving from Oklahoma City to Tulsa, right? You have to have an address that's outside of Oklahoma to apply for the program and to be accepted.
All right. Who else got the fun fact?
So you want to go to Jateria?
You can go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say it's also important to note that there's two ways you can receive the $10,000. You can receive it as a down payment for housing, or you can take it as a monthly stipend. So those are the two options. So it's not just $10,000. Hey, here's cash, $10,000 to do what you want to do up front.
Yeah, and just to further note on that, what Deshaun said, so he is correct. So most of us in the beginning, it was paid out in installments. That was not an option. Yeah. But in the past, like year and a half or so, they switched it, and so there is a lump sum payment of $10,000 if you purchase a house. It's not even if you are in the process of purchasing a house. You have to purchase the house, close, and then they will give you the lump sum of $10,000.
Yeah, and I will also add that when you do move to Tulsa, you do have to live within the city limits of Tulsa. You can't like live on the outskirts because the housing might be a little bit cheaper, but you have to live within the city limits of Tulsa.
Mm-hmm. Liberty, I think you're on mute.
So there's no way I can type all this fast. So add some more stuff because there is more things outside of Oklahoma.
So there's, I guess another thing to note too is Jateria mentioned there are cheaper places outside of the city, and I think a lot of people once they first come to Tulsa, we settle in the Tulsa city limits, but then you'll slowly see people start venturing further out. I'm not sure where did you purchase your home? Are you still within Tulsa city limits, or did you go? Okay,
I am. I'm Midtown. I'm a city girl, so I wasn't going far.
Oh, yeah, I forgot the Chicago lifestyle. Okay, yeah. But yes, a lot of people end up going to other places. Again, it is cheaper outside the city limits of Tulsa. However, for the program requirements, you have to start in the city. So,
yep.
Okay, I think I hit all of those. Yeah, so there's a few stipulations of the program that help you get into the program, and once you are into the program that you have to adhere to. I think we also have to be in the city. We have to be in Tulsa for a certain percentage of time. Of the time that we are in the program. I don't remember what that percentage is because that rule started, I think, after I joined.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They don't want you to just come and grab the money and then dip. Right. So they
remember 75%.
75% of the time. Okay. Yeah. And so how many of us bought houses? So I bought a house. But Kim, did you bought a house after the program? Yeah.
Yeah. Technically. Yes, actually, yeah.
After your year. So Deshaun mentioned, or Kim and Deshaun mentioned that you can get the payment two ways. So if you rent a place, they'll pay you monthly. If you buy a place, once you close, they'll give you the full amount up front. So I bought my house before I even moved here. My thought process was, here's a great opportunity to get into real estate investment. I want to be a real estate investor. I want a rental property. So step one, let me get a place here because Tulsa is consistently pumping people into the city. And I've talked to, the folks in operations of Tulsa Remote, and I'm gonna tell you something, they don't have any plans of slowing down. Zero plans of slowing down. So they're still moving people into the city. And I'm like, those people are going to need places to rent. So I wanted to buy a place. Never saw it, never laid eyes on it until the day I moved in. So yeah, I bought a place. Yeah, I trusted my real estate agent wholly. Plus my thought was either I get a really good investment property or I get a really good education, one or the other. Like at some point you got to jump, right? So that was my thinking. Somebody asked, how have you inserted yourself into the local community? Great question. Who wants to start?
I can start since I've been here the longest. So few points on this. I can tell you how I've inserted myself. But what I tell people all the time, and I have now convinced at least 10 different people to move here, let me say. When I tell people all the time, whatever it is you want to do, if you want to start a business, if you want to be a volunteer, if you want to help with criminal justice reform, if just all these things, it is right here in Tulsa and it's so easy to do.
Yeah.
So I inserted myself very early on, right? I knew I wanted to be a part of the community. I wanted to give back in some way. I started out volunteering. I now have a board position where I sit on the board of the Grief Center, right? And so I'm helping them with their DE&I initiatives to make sure that they're serving all of Tulsa and not just the Caucasian population that they have been serving, right? Because that's how their staff is made up. That's how their board looked before. And now we've made a lot of progress. On top of that, I participated in a few different leadership programs. So one, Leadership Tulsa, and another one, New Leaders Council, right? And so they're all about creating leaders in the city to serve in whether it be nonprofit positions or political positions, right? And so specifically, if you're a progressive leader, right, I think there's opportunity here because the state is a red state. Tulsa tends to be very blue, so a little bit more liberal, but we still need help. We still need, push to get people to get out there to vote, to really make a difference and make a change. So it's very easy though. I've seen, and I know Jateria, I'm sure we'll talk to this, but entrepreneurs that have come here and that have thrived, right? They've been thinking about business, in their home states, and maybe it was just slow, or maybe they didn't have that push, but there's so many different programs here to be part of.
They are literally throwing money at people in Tulsa, like throwing money at people in Tulsa. Like there are so many programs for small businesses, for founders, for small business owners, accelerators, grant programs, 0% interest loan programs. Like it's ridiculous. And the amount of competition is different than you would see in a major city, right? And so from the standpoint of this leadership Tulsa thing, I was thinking about the other day, Kim, I wanted to do Leadership Atlanta years ago. I quickly learned that I would never be able to do Leadership Atlanta because those spots are usually reserved for like the EVP or SVP of Home Depot or the CFO or COO of UPS. There's so many major organizations in Atlanta that likely give large donations to these organizations, right? And so a lot of times you don't have access to this kind of stuff in major cities because you are competing with, as Libria Jones project manager, competing with like COO of Delta. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yes. And so the really cool thing about being in Tulsa is that you can carve a path. You can be a little fish and still, swim to all the places, right? Take over the whole lake. Is it a big fish in a small pond? That's what it is. You can be a small fish and still take over the pond, right? You still have so much access to that. Absolutely. And thanks for calling out Jateria, because Jateria, you, I'm sure you started your business before you moved here, but you've been able to really kind of plug into the community and build clientele from this community as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so when I came to Tulsa, before I came to Tulsa, I was a travel blogger, turned financial educator, because I was focusing on people not just traveling on a budget, but also paying off their debt so they could travel more freely and still build wealth. So when I came to Tulsa, that was July 2021. In June 2021, my business had just been featured in the Wall Street Journal. So I came to Tulsa like on a climax in my business, with clients and just people recognizing my business from all over the world because of the Wall Street Journal feature. And then when I got to Tulsa, it was really much we want to focus on tech. We want to focus on tech. We want to focus on tech. So I said, my business really doesn't have anything to do with tech, but I'll give it a try. And I entered a pitch competition for an app idea, kind of based on my business, but an extension through an app. The pitch competition went really, really well. Soon after, I applied to an accelerator. I joined this accelerator and I was able to get my app funded. I was able to get physical products funded for my business, such as budget planners, budget workbooks, and I'm in development of my app now. And I would have never thought that I would be having an app coming out. Like that just was not on my radar at all. But coming to Tulsa shifted my perspective of what I can do with business and how far I can take it.
That's crazy, right? And I don't think you would have, not saying that these opportunities don't exist in larger cities, but A, there's way more competition. And B, because there's so much competition, there's a standard group that typically gets those opportunities.
Mhm.
That's all I'll say about that. But the other thing about the community here, and I'm gonna throw this to Sean in just a second. I'm giving you a segue, is I think people assume that Tulsa is boring as hell, right? Like, what do people do in Tulsa? And I'm of the belief, and I know it's cliche, like everything is what you make it, right? If you in Tulsa and you bored, it's because you're boring. You're being boring. Real talk. Every time I'm bored in Tulsa, it's because I'm sitting in my house, not reaching out to anybody or not connecting or not participating. At the end of the day, there are so many people here that are so willing to connect, to collaborate, to kick it, to commune. There's so many people in Tulsa Remote and just natives of Tulsa or people that live in Tulsa that are just willing to kick it, commune, collaborate, whatever. So if you're trying to have like a co-working meetup, boom, you got a whole group of people that do it. Jateria does it all the time. If you're trying to get together for brunch, I mean, after this, I think we all going to this hip hop brunch. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just so many opportunities, and so it's truly it is what you make it situation. And again, I know that sounds cliche, but if you think Tulsa is boring, it's because you are choosing to be boring. We have a community here. We have a whole group of people who have gone through what you're going through, and for that reason, they're very willing to connect, collaborate, commune, kick it, all of those things. And one of the things I really like about Deshaun is like his first week here, like first couple of weeks here, he was already like, let me get into this community. I think you had only been here for a week when you hosted your first like meetup, right?
Yeah, I forgot about that. I had it was a workout. It was a workout meetup. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Which end up progressing into like a Sunday fun day at the pool situation.
Yeah, I remember that
Right.
too.
We made a
Right.
whole day of it, but
The whole day of it.
you did not hesitate to start building and creating a community that you can, hang out with, communicate with, kick it with, spend time with. Like you did not hesitate, and you took matters into your own hand to do that. Why don't you share how you kind of connected with the community?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned. 'Cause I totally forgot about the workout thing because I've done that in a couple different places. Even when I was in Mexico, Playa, I was part of the Black Star Aboriginals, our first Black African flag football team in Mexico. I'm very proud of that. I had to
Oh
shout
yeah,
them out.
yeah.
Yes, I remember that. But even here, like after the hip hop brunch, I'm actually coaching women's flag football. One of my friends, Dominique's brother Milo, he coaches. He asked me to help him coach. He knows I have a background in coaching. I've been doing it for like 12, 13 years. So for me, it's always been something with athletics, whether it's coaching, playing. That's how I connect to the community. Actually, I've been talking to a friend lately, and it was kind of informal conversation, but they were like, yeah, maybe you should start something with the kids because they know I love working with kids. I've been coaching youth sports for the longest. So that's something hopefully I'll do in the future sometime soon here in Tulsa. But as you mentioned, there's always something to do here in Tulsa. If you're not, sometimes I'm not going to lie, it's too much sometimes. I'm like, damn, I need to sit down and just everyone's saying the same thing.
It can be a
It can
lot.
be overwhelming. Yeah, it can be overwhelming. But yeah, for me, giving back to the community was by way of athletics. That was my tip.
Yeah. So to your point of it can be a lot. So I think people feel bad when we move to Tulsa because they're like, you probably have nothing to do. One, we got a whole community of people. So we got the Tulsa Remote community, right?
Mhm.
And we got the Black Tulsa Remote community,
Mhm.
right? And then we got the friends that we made that just live here that aren't part of Tulsa Remote. They just kind of kick it with us. And Tulsa Remote hosts events all the time. And when you say events, it's not always networking events. Like we be kicking it. Like yesterday, there was a whole dodgeball tournament.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that. I saw the stories online.
Yeah, and a couple of weeks ago, they hosted like a wine thing with tie-dye. Me and my daughter went and made some tie-dye t-shirts. So Tulsa Remote spoils the hell out of us. There's events all the time. There's always stuff to do here. So don't think, oh, it's Tulsa, there's going to be nothing to do. if there's nothing to do, it's because you're choosing not to do anything. Like that's honestly like bottom line, that's what it is. So I'm
I'd
gonna
like to
try to
add. Well, you're saying that, Liberia. I'd like to add too that with Tulsa Remote, unlike other cities that I've been to that I've lived in, Tulsa Remote makes it so much easier because a lot of times you have to go find these places. You really have to look and search. And if you're an introvert, if you're very shy, it's kind of hard sometimes. I know
or
I've
if
been
you're
to
not in the right
Austin.
circles, you know what I
Exactly.
mean?
So Tulsa Remote makes it really easy because they
Yeah.
send out the emails. You have your Slack channels. So they make it easier to connect. And I think that was the biggest difference for this Tulsa Remote program versus moving to other cities I've lived in to just try to work. So just wanted to add that.
Yeah. So when people ask me why I chose Tulsa Remote over other programs, because guys, just so you know, there's multiple programs like this around the United States. There's a website that actually details them out called
Make
makemymove.com.
my move. Yeah.
So if you head over to Make My Move, they can detail out all of the other programs. What I loved about the Tulsa Remote program over all of those is that it was clear to me that Tulsa Remote not only created a community, but they nurture it. I've never seen a community nurture it the way that Tulsa Remote nurtures this community. Like they pour into us. Anything you need, anything you're trying to do, any connections you need, anything, like we have it available to us, and they go out of their way to make us feel like this is our city. Like they make us feel like we run this city a little bit. I'm not even going front. Like they invite us to Tulsa has a soccer team. We go to a Tulsa soccer team game. We got a whole section and free drinks. Like we feel like we run this city sometimes. So community is huge. And Deshaun, I love that you mentioned that you came here and wanted to start certain things. Kim mentioned that she's in leadership. Jateria mentioned that she's in business. I want you guys to say that she grew her business here and got funding. I want you guys to know too that it doesn't have to just be those things. It could just be things you're interested in, right? So Deshaun talked about, leaning into athletics, and we have a whole lot of friends here who moved here with Tulsa Remote and have really leaned into the arts, right? So we've got friends that are doing plays and musicals that have never done it before or just hadn't done it in a long time. Fun fact, I actually want to audition for a play. I haven't acted in so long and I miss it so much. So Obum and I have been talking about that. But so the sky's the limit, really. Like someone just started, another young lady, she's into fashion, and she just started doing sewing classes and stuff with people. So it doesn't just have to be about business. It doesn't have to just be about leadership. It can also be about, leaning into things that you're passionate about. And Jateria and I are going to start shooting pool together every week. So because I really want to get good at shooting pool. So, all right, I'm gonna hit a couple of these questions, and then we're gonna talk about our experience living here and like what's the plan, and why did Deshaun boomerang? All right, is the cost of living worth it? I think we hit that already. Yes, very much yes. So, somebody also asked about apartments. Is it difficult to find apartments? Tulsa Remote actually gives us a list of apartments. So did you guys have trouble, the folks that rented, did you guys have trouble finding apartments?
I didn't.
Not at all. No.
Yeah. And I came early on. I will say, though, that there's a lot more competition these days.
Yeah.
So a lot of apartments might not have availability. However, there's still plenty of options available. A lot of people tend to gravitate towards downtown. And that's where the cost has risen, the demand has risen. But if you just get outside of downtown, you've got plenty of options at a much more reasonable price point or cheaper price point. I mean, I know someone here that's renting, she's about a mile away from me, renting a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom for less than $900 a month. So again, I'm not sure you can find that in many cities. Definitely not a big city.
No, not in A. Yeah. You also don't have to stick to apartments. So there are a lot of Tulsa Remote folks or ex-Tulsa Remote or Tulsa Remote alumni, I should say, that came here and bought a lot of real estate, and they rent out houses as well. They rent out properties. So you don't have to just stick to apartments. But yeah, I think when we all moved here, it was either during the beginning of the pandemic or like right when people were starting to leave their houses again. And so the rates were a lot more competitive at the time. And there was a lot more availability when all of us moved here. So last year, I remember when I went to go visit Cosmopolitan, which is one of the most popular apartments here, super nice, so many amenities. They were damn near begging me to get an apartment. If I went there today, they'd be like, probably wouldn't even let me in the door. I'm just kidding. But they are packed. They're packed, and the rates have gone up. But you can expand outside of just looking at apartments. And I don't know if Marticia is still here, Martisha was in the comments earlier. She recently got accepted into Tulsa Remote, and she and her family are moving here. And I know she's in the process of looking for apartments too. So for the person that asked that, network in the comments, hit up Martisha and see what she's found, because she's looking more recently. The rest of us, I think, are chilling for the most part.
Also, just another quick point to add is that if you do apply and you get accepted, they invite you into our community. So, right, you can have access to a handful of our Slack channels, and one of them being housing. So you can get a lot of resources from there. You can network with other people that way, find out, who's moving where, what they think about a certain place. It's been extremely helpful, I know, for a lot of people.
Yeah. Somebody asked, are there neighborhoods in Tulsa that you recommend Black folks live in, or that we consider purchasing a home to rent? Okay, so I assume that all is the same question. Where should the Black people live? That's a tough question to ask me. I think we belong everywhere. I mean, honestly, like, for me, it just depends on what's most important to you. Is it more important to you to be around other Black people? Is it more important to you to be in an area that's walkable? Is it more important to you to be in an area that, like, is close to a Target? Like, Are you bringing small kids? So do you care about, like, what kind of schools to be in? So for me, it's really about what's most important to you.
I agree. There's not many Black people in the neighborhood I live in. It's more predominantly Caucasian, professionals, lawyers, doctors, high net worth people. And so I see very few Black people. But for me, I don't feel unwelcome. And I will tell you, though, I'm not very neighborly. So I also don't get out and talk to people much. I don't really like people. I don't like people having access to me. But I appreciate the fact that I know I am in a very safe place, and that, not much crime, very beautiful. They keep it very clean, landscape, all of those
nice
things.
Houses in your neighborhood. There's really nice houses in your house is nice too.
Thank you. But as Libria said, right, it's what's important to you. So as a Black person, again, I do feel comfortable here. I'm not around a lot of Black people, but that's fine for me, because I don't want the Black people to have the access to me. I want to be able to go to them, like go to these events and see my Black people, and then come to my own little.
I'll see y'all in the streets. Look here. I'll see y'all in the streets.
Okay. Sound like an episode of the Boondocks.
Okay, so if you want to stay where there are more higher percentage of Black people, the north side is the part of town that you would stay in. So if that's what you're asking, if you care more about being walkable, you would want to live downtown, right? If you want to, move around a little bit easier, you would want to be downtown. If you wanted more of a suburb feel, then like South Tulsa, before you get to, because you cannot live in the suburbs. But South Tulsa, if you're looking for a suburb feel, South Tulsa is good. If you're looking for something artsy, I might say Kendall Whittier probably is a good area. Something artsy, fresh, and young and new. Kendall Whittier is a good area. So again, it really just kind of depends on what you're looking for, like what's important to you. I think we belong everywhere. So do you, friend? What about you, Syria? Do you have advice on that?
I think the main thing is to look at the reviews of places and to ask around before you make your decision, because I know a lot of people have had to move multiple times in their year because they didn't like the place that they moved to.
Yeah.
So I would make sure you really look at reviews, you really talk to people that live there, because you don't want to be in a position where you have to move and then that kind of like scorns your Tulsa experience just because of housing. So yeah, I would really look at the reviews and talk to people that live there.
That's a good call out. I mean, I'll be completely candid with you guys. If I had to do it over again, I would not have moved to where I moved. My area isn't terrible, but it's not great either. And I'd say maybe 3 or 4 streets down, it's a lot better. But it's like I'm right on the edge of the hood, and not the hood I'm used to. You know what I'm saying? Like, I lived in the projects. I grew up in a trailer park. So not the hood I'm used to, but my area is like sketchy adjacent. Like on any given day, I could see a student walking home or I could see a meth head walking around. Like, one or the other on any given day. I could see either. So to your point, Jatiri, and to be completely transparent, because y'all know I'm very transparent, if I had it to do again, I'd probably be looking maybe 3 streets south of where I am. Because you guys know you guys know where Admiral is, right? Admiral. I'm just like, there's Admiral, the highway, and then like 2 blocks, and that's my house.
Lib has a very cute place, by the way.
Yeah, it's super cute. Like, I like the place. I think it's cute. I definitely, speaking of inflation, I definitely think I overpaid, but I bought when the market was up, right? I bought my house like when the market was crazy everywhere in July of last year. And so I think most people that bought houses around that time overpaid just a little bit. And I was okay with that. A, I wanted somewhere to live, and B, I wanted to own the place that I lived in. And so I would love to live, if I had to move somewhere else, I would want to live in like probably Kendall Whittier area, or like over on Peoria near in Brookside.
Oh, yeah.
I really love Brookside. Brookside is another neighborhood that I call out too. It's a great neighborhood as well. Or I live in the North Side with my people. You know what I'm saying? All right. So since we hit the topic of being Black in Tulsa, I know that's a question that a lot of us got, right? What is it like for Black people in Tulsa? I distinctly remember being asked before I moved here, do they like Black people in Oklahoma? That's not a joke. Literally, that was a question. And this is a topic that always comes up when we talk about living here, right? People are familiar with the fact that Oklahoma is a red state. People are more familiar now with the Tulsa race massacres. And so that's a question we get asked, right? So what's the answer? Like, being Black in Tulsa, what's that like?
Well, let me start again, only because I feel like I have a unique experience that you all did not have to go through. So when I first moved here,
you were OG.
Yes. So I was. Tulsa Remote had a first year class. 2019, people started moving here. At the time I moved, like I said, February 2020, I started the program. There were probably roughly 100 people, maybe just below total in Tulsa Remote. Of those 100, I think maybe 12 to 14 Black. And so not a big deal for me. I'm huge on diversity. And like I said, I love DE&I. I love inclusivity. And I noticed, again, and we were in a pandemic, so that made its own separate issue. Yeah. I think Black people were more scared, right? And so they were staying inside. I was comfortable with starting to get out and being, socially distanced. And I had a group of people that I hung out with every week, multiple times a week, and none of them were Black. And about month 2.5 or 3, it hit me. And we were out one night, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just like, I'm having a drink, and I wanted to hear my music, right? And I'm like, hey, let's drive to Oklahoma City. Let's go and everybody's like, no, and why would we do that? And this, and then I just got upset, and it was just the drinking, right? So I was a little tipsy. But I started just offloading to them. And I said, I don't get to go to, eat the food that I'm used to eating. I don't get to drink the drinks that I'm used to drinking, because we go out and they like to go to places that serve beer.
What you talking about? Hennessy?
No Hennessy, but I'm a bourbon girl. We will go to places and it's like, oh, we have beer and wine. And I'm like, that's not what I drink. Or White Claws. White Claws are huge here. I had never heard of White Claw before I moved here. It is huge. The whole population seems to drink it. I was like, what is this mess? I don't want it. Get it out of here. But that was the kind of things they're serving. I'm a cocktail girl. I love my bourbon. I love my whiskey. That's what I wanted. I wanted to hear my music. So every single weekend I'm out, because I'm a little more free. My work wasn't busy, and I'm out all the time. And nothing could relate to me. Yeah. And it was hard. And I was ready to give up and be like, yep, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm good. I'm moving. And then all of these Black people started coming in. So I started having conversations with the director of Tulsa Remote, said, hey, what are we doing about diversity? Right. And so somebody asked also in the comments,
can we import some Black people?
Can we please? And somebody also asked in the comments about the LGBTQ community. So again, like I said, I am huge DE&I person. I am not part of the community, but I'm definitely an ally. They are definitely more LGBTQ friendly than they are Black friendly. And I don't want to say that they're not Black friendly, because they are, but you literally will see pride flags everywhere. Mm-hmm. Everyone supports. So no problem with being LGBTQ. And we were getting a lot of people in the community for that. So I'm like, hey, you all are doing a great job over there. Again, we're the Black, Hispanic, even, right? Asians. You just didn't see
it. Black gay people, I promise.
Yeah, exactly. Like, can we try some different routes? And I remember the director said, I mean, we advertise or we posted in the newspaper. And I said, let me tell you a little bit about diversity. You have to be, it has to go beyond that, right? So
be intentional, because people will assume that it's not for them, right?
Exactly. Have to be intentional.
Also, and keep in mind, as you said, Oklahoma is a red state. Tulsa had the race massacre. I mean, all those together, you just putting it out there tells brown people, Black people, Tulsa is not for me. This Tulsa Remote program is not for me, right? You got to tell me why I should come there. Absolutely. You got to tell me why there's space for me, right?
Yep. And then last point I will say is that, again, I stress to him is that if you have a disproportionate amount of minorities that are in these spaces that you're recruiting in, you're not going to get them that, to apply for the program. So huge change. We started getting all these Black people like Jateria, Libria, Deshaun. They started coming in droves. And then I got to the point where Deshaun, I was like, hey, it's too much. All right, I need y'all to stop coming, because everybody's like, yeah,
the amount of Black people.
Hey, you want to hang out? Hey, you got this. Hey, no, I'm in the
setting quotas.
I literally did.
I want to clarify something. I think let's be very clear. There is bourbon in Tulsa. There's also Hennessy in Tulsa. I promise. Crown, all that is in Tulsa. I think what Kim is talking about is the events that Tulsa Remote hosts. They give us free drinks, and a lot of times those drinks are limited options, and it's beer or wine, right? And so, and the activities that they were doing. And
that group wanted to do, right? So again, it's who you hang with, and that's what they're used to. It wasn't what I was used to. I don't want a White Claw.
I will say, Natural Bay, there's not a whole lot of fitting in and trying to adjust. One thing I do like about Tulsa Remoters is because we're all coming, and this is Tulsa Remoters of any background, because we're all coming from different places and we're all kind of on the same journey. We're all showing up as ourselves. Right. And kind of figuring out like who are our people and who are not our people. And a lot of times the folks who are your people, it doesn't matter if they're, Black or white or gay or anything. Like we are all going through this experience together. And I likened it to the Real World the other day. You remember Real World on MTV? Like it's a very specific experience to go through. And a lot of people don't understand or have a real appreciation for what we've done here. Right. Picking up. To most people, we moved. Moving your whole life away from your friends, away from your family, away from, all of us said we've been in our last cities for more than 10, 12 years, right? This is a huge life change. And while it's an exciting change and a change we chose, it's also very difficult, right? And so it's not about trying to fit in. We are all going through this experience together, right? And the cool thing is we all show up as ourselves, and we get to figure out who our people are, no matter what those backgrounds are, which is actually pretty cool. And I really appreciate Kim, and I got to shout out Dominique, who is on the Tulsa Remote staff. She lives in Tulsa. She's lived in Tulsa for a while, and she was helping with membership, and she made it her business to make sure that more people of color were being brought into Tulsa. And I think I'd say a good 50, 60, 70% of us Black folks in Tulsa probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for Kim calling this out and for Dominique being intentional about recruiting us. Right. And so, and obviously kudos to the Tulsa Remote leadership team for being open to it as well. And hearing the feedback and addressing it. But for me, being Black in Tulsa, again, one of the comments is always, what is it like here? And do they like Black people? I'm going to say, for one, I don't give a shit whether people like Black people or not. That's not my problem. You not liking me is your problem, not mine. Like I belong everywhere. Two, I will say what I like about Tulsa, and Kim, you kind of called it out, that it's pretty progressive. right, versus the rest of Oklahoma. What I've seen here is a city working to atone for its past and being blatant about it and open about it. It's not sugarcoated. It's not like, oh, well, something happened here, right? I mean, it took them a while to get there, right? But the fact is they've landed. They've landed there. And so somebody asked if they were revitalizing or revamping Black Wall Street. Yes, they have redone Black Wall Street. There is a really great museum, Greenwood Rising. Have y'all been?
Mm-hmm.
No. Not yet. Yes. One of the best museums I've been to. It is so well done. And my favorite thing about it is it's short. Like it only takes about 30 minutes to get through it. But the city is not shying away from its ugly past, right? It's trying to atone for it. It's trying to bring people together. And you can walk around downtown and there's signs in a lot of the businesses, white-owned businesses, other people-owned businesses that say Black businesses are the heartbeat of Tulsa, things like that, right? And so, again, I think the city is being very blatant about trying to make amends, bridge gaps, and atone for its past. And the other thing I'd say is the people that I've encountered here are like ridiculously nice. And half the time I'm expecting something completely different. I'm gonna give y'all an example. Yesterday I was outside my house and this guy walks up. I was getting this pod delivered and this guy walks up and he had on like the Duck Dynasty outfit with, with the orange vest and a hat and he was smoking a cigarette. And I thought for sure, like he looked like stereotypical redneck. I mean, I lived in Georgia, okay? I was like, hi. He was like, hey, how you doing? How much does it cost to store those things? I was like, what? He was like, yeah. He was like, are you moving? I was like, no, my daughter's moving. He was like, oh, well, I'm your neighbor. We haven't met. My name's Steve. I'm Liberty. He was like, nice to meet you. You need your grass cut? I'll cut it for you Monday for $25. Okay. Steve? Thanks. He was like, yeah, I'll be back Monday. Take care. Have a great day. When he walked out, I legit thought he was about to tell me to go back to Africa or something. Like, that was my expectation. That was my expectation. But here, it's definitely like, don't judge a book by its cover. There's so many different types of people here. My neighborhood is full of Trump flags, equality flags, Black Lives Matter flags, and everybody here has been nice to me, right? Like, it's just, it's a mix of people here. So don't come here assuming that, everybody's a cowboy and everybody's like, it's a red state and blah, 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 blah. There's some of everybody here. And it's definitely a don't judge a book by its cover type of place. Because I definitely didn't expect Steve to offer to mow my grass. What about you, Deshaun? Black and Tulsa. You got your black shirt on. Black and Tulsa.
Well, first, I want to thank Kim actually again for I guess speaking to the director, because it's funny you mentioned that, because I remember after my interview, or actually before my interview, two different people told me, "Oh yeah, you're a Black man applying to Tulsa Remote. You're gonna get in. You'll be all right." So two different people told me that. So I'm guessing that's attributed to the conversation that you had, because I think they were really making a push at that time when I applied. Because I was in like within a month. It was like 2-3 weeks. I flew through the process. So thank you again, Kim. I appreciate that. I'll also say that as Liberia mentioned, there's it's a melting pot. You are going to see your Trump flags. You are going to see a little bit of everything. And I think for me, I always stayed on the south part, South Tulsa, and I made the mistake. Well, not the mistake. I ventured a little too far south a couple times, and I was like, whoa, this is unexpected. I definitely feel like a fish out of water here. However, you just have to understand with Tulsa that's just the dynamic. And for those who do enter the Tulsa Remote program, you will be required to stay in Tulsa city limits, and most people choose downtown. So you're not going to have the same kind of problem. But as you venture out to the southern parts of the far north, Owasso or the Sapulpa areas, which are outside the city, main city of Tulsa, that's when you start seeing it's a little different diversity.
Yeah.
I was surprised too, because I spent so much time the first time here downtown that when I actually did go further out, I was like, whoa, am I still in Tulsa? Because I mean, let's be real. You stay downtown, you're going to see us and so many different things all the time. But then when you go outside the city limits, you remember, oh yeah, this is Oklahoma. There is that percentage where we're still in that, a very minute percentage. So just wanted to mention that. What was the other question? Sorry, I wanted to touch.
That's a good call out. Something that people don't realize though, Deshaun, is Oklahoma, long time ago, we learned this at the Greenwood Rising, there was a big movement to make Oklahoma a Black state. So you guys may not know this. I actually, just recently learned this. There are a large number of Black towns here in Oklahoma. There was more. I think there was more than 25 or something like that.
Like 40 something originally.
Yeah, okay. And now there's a smaller number, but they still exist. So there's a Black town called Tallahassee right outside of Tulsa, maybe 40 minutes away. There's Langston is not very far. So there are actually Oklahoma. I know we say Oklahoma's a red state. And when we think about Oklahoma, we think, cowboy hats. But there was a movement years ago to make Oklahoma a Black state. And there are still Black towns here. And there was a woman, I unfortunately missed out on this, but there was a woman who was organizing Black city tours here to take folks to visit those cities. But I will say a lot of that history has been preserved here. And if you ever get to visit, if you ever get accepted into the program and you get to come and do your visit, please go to the Greenwood Rising Museum so that you can learn more about the history of Black folks here in Oklahoma. Chateria, what about you?
So
being a chocolate girl in Oklahoma.
Yes. So yeah, definitely thanks to Kim and Dominique, because I can say that my experience was completely different. Being a mid late 20s Black girl from Atlanta. When people ask me like, oh, like, is it a lot of white people? Do you hang out with Black people? I don't know not one white person here in Tulsa.
That's not true. She knows some.
She
She
knows.
hang out with them.
I'm not
I saw you
friends. I
commenting
don't
with white
hang
people the other
out.
day. Stop it.
Right. Taking pictures with them, selfies.
She's not white, but my point is, my community is the Black community here. I was able to really come to Tulsa, find my people, find the places to go to, the drinks I like, not necessarily the food, but I will cook. So for me, it was a completely different experience. I feel like it's one of the Blackest experience I have had in America coming to Tulsa.
Wow.
Saying a lot, right?
That's saying a lot. So, I think the point that's being made here is that it's up to you, right? So I think a lot of people are afraid to come here because they assume that they won't have a Black community. If that's what you want, it exists here. I wish I could. I don't even have the Slack open, but I wish I could tell y'all how many people are in the Black in Tulsa Slack group. Like
There's over 340 now.
three something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people.
And I will say
Black
this.
people in Tulsa.
So
Right.
it's all type of different, right? So even like Jateria said, right, she hangs out with a group of people, which is separate probably from the group of people I hang out with, which is separate from the group of people Libra hangs. So like it's all in what you wanted. If you like to hike, because some of us, we drink. So I've hung out with Jateria and Libria and Deshaun, and we all drink and we have a good time. But there's others that are like, I don't want to drink. And then there's people that want to be like Deshaun and be on their like fitness tip, and they want to go on hikes every week. And they created a group and they went hiking every week. I don't know if that's still in play, but they used to. Right now it's like extremely hot as hell. So it's like 95 and above every day. So they're probably not hiking, but again, that exists. We actually just bought the, for those of you that are familiar, 40 plus Double Dutch Club. There was a Black woman that joined Tulsa Remote. She was in the Black in Tulsa group and asking about, hey, does this exist? Because it's like a nationwide organization. And was there a chapter here? Now there's a chapter that just got started. So when I tell you literally anything you want to do, you want to be a bookworm and be in books all day, there are people that do that as well. They have book clubs and they go to the library. I just found out the library really has everything. They have sewing machines for people. They have a studio, so you can record podcasts. You can record a whole album, apparently. Mind blown. I didn't even
find out. Yeah, there's a ridiculous amount of resources here. And I want to drive the point home. Again, you can create the community that you want to create. And for me, I went to a Black elementary school, a Black middle school, a Black high school, an HBCU, and then I moved to Atlanta, a Black ass city. And then I took a group of Black people around the world for a year. And so one of the things that I'd like to do in Tulsa is actually expand my friends, right? I've got friends from everywhere, but I want to expand that. I want to actually have a more diverse group of friends. And that's possible here too, right? Because there's some of everyone here. There's people from literally all over the United States and from other countries as well here, that are super interesting and have such cool backgrounds. And I love that we can all come here and make it what we want, right? If there's something that you want here that does not exist, you can create it. Like it really is, so much opportunity here. And the cool thing is you've got a ready-made community to help bolster that. And people are willing to test things out. When Britt started doing her plant and sit activities, we all supported her, right? We all showed up. And then when people say, well, you know what? This young lady said she wanted to do a music video about the Black towns here. People stepped up to help her with that, right? So there's just so much opportunity for community and for the things that you guys want to do. So we've been talking for an hour and we haven't even gotten to, like, are we living here? Like, what are we doing next? So let's get to that.
Let's start with Deshaun.
Wait. First thing I want to do is ask you guys, because we're going to come around to Deshaun with this question. If you had to do the Tulsa Remote program over again, would you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hell yes. I would absolutely do it. In fact,
Definitely.
can I, like, how do I reapply?
Sign up again? Right.
Yes.
How do I reapply? Like, can I do this one more time? Let's do this again. You know how you get on a really fun ride and you're like, oh, I want to go again. So Deshaun, why did you end up leaving Tulsa?
$1 million question, right? Why did I end up leaving? So a couple different reasons. The main one being for me, mental health. Just when I was here dealing with the weather, the cold, having lived mostly in warm weather places, coming from Mexico, moving here from Orlando, Florida. It just that aspect of it, the cold. I hate the cold, which is crazy because I actually graduated high school in Alaska, but that's a whole other story. Yeah, I've lived a lot of places in the U.S., but the cold did something to me. The mental health aspect, coming from the tail end of the pandemic. I was also empty nester, no longer having my daughter living with me. So all of that tied in together. Yeah, so you're happy. It took me a while to adjust. I'm not gonna lie. You're doing that now, but in a little while you might be.
Girl, bye.
Might be different for me. It might be different for me.
I just cleaned out her room yesterday. I was so excited.
Oh my gosh, I was lost. My princess was with me. I was single dad for like 8-9 years. It was different. So all of that was like the dating aspect. Yeah, I'll let you answer that dating question.
Oh my God, you don't have time to stay on. I'm sorry, I kept y'all for more than an hour.
I have about another 20 minutes we can talk, and then I have to shoot out. But no, for me, the first time I left, it was all of those things combined. I went back to what was familiar, which was Orlando, which is always going to be home. My family's there. I grew up there. But originally, we all left for a reason, the places we came from for a reason. And being back home gave me time to really sit and really reevaluate. Like, yeah, I love it here. This is always home. However, for the goals I have for myself for the future, it's easier to do it in Tulsa. And I'll be honest, I was looking for a house in Florida. I was in Orlando, Tampa, and Jacksonville. I was outbid like 25, 26 times. And then a friend of mine, I still connected to a community here. They showed me a property they got, and I saw the price, and I was like, whoa, that's half of what I'm looking for in Florida. So, because before then, I came as a renter. I never even looked at property. I wasn't as smart as Libria. I didn't look at the home, trying to.
I did say I overpaid for my place, so I didn't.
I mean, still, yeah. So, it wasn't a factor for me until she said that, and I looked at the prices. I was like, yo, let me look into that. So I recently closed on. Congratulations, Kim. I recently closed on my property like a week and a half ago. I've been doing the same thing with you, Libria, moving, trying to get yard work done, all that stuff. But for my goals and what I want in life and what I'm trying to get to, Tulsa it was no option. It was no brainer. I just had to come back to do it. So
I love that. So we got to hit the cold thing because that that scares the hell out of people, right? So it was cold. Started getting cold like in November through I'd say the end of February, March, maybe.
Yeah.
It snowed here, I think, three times over the winter. So we'll be honest about that. Like it does get cold here. It does snow here.
Very similar to Texas weather, if anybody is familiar with that. It is nowhere near. I came from Chicago. It's nowhere near as cold. Yeah. There's a lot of places that get a lot colder. So yeah, I'll take this any day.
Yeah, I'd say maybe just a little bit worse than Atlanta, right, Jateria? It probably snows in Atlanta every other year. for like a day or a half a day or something like that. When it snowed here, it snowed for a day, right?
But it was also my experience too, though, because
Yeah,
you said
yeah.
it snowed 3 times. But during those three
No, no, I'm
times,
not.
yeah.
I want to.
Ooh.
I don't listen. I'm from Florida too. I feel you,
So
Sam.
yeah,
I feel you. I also just don't want people to think that like this is a Chicago situation either,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That's
Growing
true.
up in Florida, we are allergic to snow. Like, the hell is that? I was in Target, Deshaun, and I saw snow shovels, and I was like, "What? Why are they selling these? Why am
And
I
let me
here?"
let me tell you the flip side, because I now give these two the side eye because, like I said, it's 95 to 100 every day. And trust
That's
me, as
true.
soon as you step outside, you're sweating. Like, I don't like it. I don't want to be out. I
You know
stay in
what's
my house.
crazy? It's still not as bad as Florida
Yeah.
because it's not as humid as
Yeah,
Florida.
true.
Like, Florida humidity is like 90%. You walk
True.
outside and it's like literally your arms immediately start sweating. So, but no, it is really hot. So I will say I feel like we get a very extreme heat here. Um, just so you know, like, just be prepared. Summertime, like, nobody's trying to go anywhere until after 6 or 7 o'clock. All right. So the plan going forward, obviously, Deshaun, you are now here to stay. You bought a house, stay for a
Stay.
while.
Oh, yeah, I'm about to say this. Yeah,
For a little
yeah,
while.
yeah.
Kim bought a house as well. You going anywhere, Kim? What's your move?
I am not. I'm here to stay. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna die here, but I'm here. I'm here for a long while.
I'll be here till I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I get it. I
Okay.
get it. I get it. What about you, Jateria? You got some decisions to make soon.
Yes, I'm indecisive right now. My lease is up next month and I'm just 50-50. And I think the only reason why I'm even considering it is just because my lease is up. I do like Tulsa. I don't feel like it's anything here making me want to leave, but I also don't feel that strong pull to stay. So I'm working through that now to make my final decision to see if I'm going to stay in Tulsa.
What would be a strong pull to stay?
Go ahead and say
Money.
it. I was gonna
I
say the
would
other
say
M.
go spend a week in Metro Atlanta right now and see how you feel.
I'm
Because
headed to Metro Atlanta next week for 2 weeks.
Me too.
You going to Atlanta? Hit
Mhm.
me up so we can hang out. Are you going to Invest Fest?
No, I'm not. Too
Yeah,
busy for
I think
me.
Kamoy is.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so.
so my answer is I am I'm not in a rush. I'm in no rush. I own a house. Like, I'm chilling. My goal really is to get a duplex because I want a house hack for the next year or so. And what that means, if you're not familiar, is if you get a duplex and you live on one side and rent the other side out, you basically get to live for free. I'm trying to do some things to accelerate saving and preparing myself for the life I want, 3 years from now. I am not a saver. I have not done a great job of that in my life. So I want to play catch up. And so getting a duplex is the way that I can see an easier way for me to play catch up and also to go into my goal of being a real estate investor. Um, so that said, I am looking for duplexes here in Tulsa. If I find one here, I'll stay here. They are hard to find. I saw your face. Ain't nobody trying to come up off these duplexes. There's so many in my neighborhood. There's so many, but nobody's coming up off of them. But Stephanie sent me a few of them the other day.
nice.
But I'm looking in Tulsa, Dallas, Houston, Chicago, and Atlanta. I'm not trying to move back to Atlanta. I don't want to move back to Atlanta, but the real estate market, I think Deshaun just mentioned, it was way better than it was in Florida. So I think the real estate market everywhere is cooling off from where it was last year. But so I should say something wrong with Atlanta. It's just expensive and congested. Kim ain't
Super,
in Atlanta.
super congested.
She's
My
just
brother
talking
lives there, so it's like my second home. And it's God, he lives in Midtown, and every single time I go, I mean, you can barely turn out into the streets anymore. It's just, sorry, I will go on and on, but yeah, I feel the same way. Like Chicago, it's just too much traffic, too much congestion. I don't like it.
Once you get used to like it taking 15 minutes to get everywhere, like being in a bigger city is crazy. Moving to Atlanta from Tallahassee was tough for me. I remember sitting in traffic like I'm gonna lose my damn mind because Tallahassee is also 15 minutes. Okay, so dating. Let's answer this question before we go because I think we're all single. Are we? Oh wait, let me not speak for people. I am single.
I'm actually single.
Is there a difference between single and single?
There is, but that's a whole nother
That's a whole
podcast.
nother, yeah. You ain't got
What's
time for
the
that one.
difference?
You ain't got
Real
time for that one.
fast.
It means I have no entanglements. I am not seeing anyone.
You're not seeing anyone, even like.
I mean, I was. Let's be clear. Like as of 2 weeks ago. But
the truth comes out. The truth comes out. Okay.
At this point, single. There's nobody else that could come in here and say, "Hey, you and I." Because some people think they single, but they.
No, I'm definitely single.
Don't think they're
if that's
single.
The definition. No one thinks they're my man.
Yeah,
if they do, they should probably tell me because I owe you some dinners and other things. Dating here, I won't lie, has been challenging. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it's not. I think it's not challenging if you're open to a wide variety of people. I happen to be completely and utterly and ridiculously in love with Black men. I love Black men so much. If I dated anybody else, they would be in danger every day of losing me to a Black man. And I don't want to do that to nobody. Listen, I adore Black men. So it's been a challenge here. I will say that for me. What about you guys?
I've been going first the whole time, so I'm gonna shut up.
It was the nodding in unison in this face.
How about this? So I might not have any success stories, but there are several people here that I think have been successful.
Yeah.
We even have a Tulsa Remote baby.
We do, yes.
Yeah, so it's possible.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I don't know, but it's possible.
I will say, I'm just gonna put it out there. Like, I made a little road trip to Dallas. Listen, I'm exporting myself to Dallas because there's just a larger pool, and Dallas is only 4 hours away. So like, I put myself on travel mode, met a few guys in Dallas, and like went to Dallas and had a great weekend going out on dates. So I mean, there's options. There's other things you can do as well, right? And I think some people, like one of my friends, dates somebody that's in OKC, which is only about an hour away too. So
hour 45.
Depends on how you drive.
It's definitely longer than an hour.
I'm just playing. Yeah, it's an hour and a half. Yeah. What else?
So I guess I'll jump in and say that as a Black man, I think my experience is definitely much different than women. As you see, one of the four here. In a lot of these spaces, I do find myself as the only Black male presence, and it's like that across the board.
It's gotta be weird.
It is. It's always been like that, though. I think just our Black women are just so much more involved. They're so much more cutting edge. They're willing to just take risks and explore. And I don't know. Well, that's a whole nother conversation as to why a lot of Black men don't have that same mentality and that mindset. However, as someone who does, I'm originally from the islands, the Virgin Islands, USVI. And my mother, just the way she raised us, I just have a different mentality, I guess, than most Black men. So I do find myself in a lot of spaces where I am the only Black man, or spaces reserved solely for Black women. It's like, yo, I'm here, but I don't mind. You get used to it after a while. It's what I do, so it is what it is. Dating wise, I will say that similar to Liberia said, my preference is always going to be number one Black. I will say that I did try one time here, my first time dating outside my race. I did not enjoy it. I did not like it. It wasn't for me. I'm sorry. It is what it is. I love my sisters. Similar to Kim, I got out of something recently, a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago, actually, weeks ago, however you want to put it. But right now, my focus now is my house, just getting things fixed up. So I will entertain dates. I will go out every now and then, but it hasn't been anything serious.
Dates, he said.
I'll just be honest. I think as a Black man, let's be honest, I think I have more options available to me, and I am aware of that. And it is what it is. So I definitely feel for the women. It's much harder. It is. It's a little drought out there. It's a drought out there.
You feel bad?
Yeah, but we
What,
have
are you
different
taking
problems
advantage of this
though.
ratio?
No, no, we have a different problem. If you ever look up the video, the paradox of choice, I think that's what a lot of men experience. It's like we have too many different, Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But for me, dating wise, it hasn't been a problem meeting people. It's a whole nother compatibility issue, other things like that. And right now, really, I'm focused on my house
So
and
it's
doing
not
other
a it's not a
things. So
supply problem for you.
no, not a supply from, not at all, and not even
We're
quality.
we're having
We
we're
have
having issues
quality
with the
here.
supply chain.
Right, so it makes it much more difficult for you than for someone like me. So I get it.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. And
So
not to
yeah.
say that there aren't black men in Tulsa. There definitely are plenty of black men in Tulsa. I think that a lot of the men that we're looking for, because a lot of the guys that a lot of black men come here to go to college and then they leave. Right. So a lot of the black men that stay here, they're either already entangled or living a lifestyle that doesn't jive with, our lifestyle. I'll say for me, living a lifestyle that doesn't necessarily jive with my lifestyle. Right. So that's been the challenge. So there are black men here. And depending on what kind of things you're looking for, that might work. But I think a lot of times the lifestyle doesn't jive with my lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? I'll just leave it at that.
I will admit though that I don't try much. Actually, I don't really try at all. I'm not on apps. So I am one of those people when you see that meme is like, shout out to all the girls waiting for the men to break into their house. So that's the one that I'm going to marry. Yes. I'm just waiting. I'm like, I do have an alarm, but I will turn it off for you. It's okay. Come,
You married
me.
Somebody, the Amazon delivery guy. Hey, did you come here to marry me? Man, I just came to drop off this package. Jatira, you there? Hella quiet.
I'm single and I didn't.
We can't hear you that well.
You're on mute. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
No, it's just it's low. The volume.
Oh, it's just low. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm single and I didn't date in Tulsa.
I'm single and I didn't date here. That's what you said? Yeah, I'm single and I didn't date here. So you're not interested in dating anybody at all? That girl say I'm focused on my business.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, okay. Her boo is her business.
Smart.
Don't be making that face, Deshaun. You just told us that your boo is this house.
Because me and Jatiria have talked.
Don't be putting her business out here on YouTube.
That's why I'm not gonna put it out there like that. But we had a conversation.
What you're not gonna do is put her business out here on YouTube in the general public. This is a conversation over drink. Let's go to hip hop brunch and talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all ready? But anyway, all that to say, thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. Thanks for being an awesome audience and asking excellent questions. If you've ever been interested in the Tulsa Remote program, I highly recommend that you apply, right? And I tell folks all the time, I think people get scared to do that because it feels like commitment. Applying does not commit you to anything. Applying doesn't mean you got to pack your bags. Applying doesn't mean you got to sell your house. Applying doesn't mean you got to break your lease. Applying is really just seeing if you're going to be a fit for the program, right? And so when you apply, you go through a couple of steps. I don't want to get into all of that. There is another video on my YouTube where Dominique, who is on the staff, walks through all of that. So check that video out. She walks through the whole application process and what's required and all of that. Is that a shameless plug right there?
Yes, since you mentioned Dominique, yes. I was going to say to connect to her Facebook group as well. She has a Facebook group called Black and Tulsa.
Yeah. So yeah, just apply. And the cool thing is, if you get accepted, that still isn't a commitment to come, right? If you get accepted, what they say is, come hang out with us, right? Come visit, hang out for a week. We'll pay you $500 to come hang out for a week and experience Tulsa, and then you can decide if you want to move. And even after that, you have a whole year to move. So this is the most non-committal process, right? So don't be afraid to just, lean in, apply, find out if you're going to be a fit, and then find out if Tulsa is going to be a fit for you. Because during that time, you can visit and you can hang out in the Slack and start to make friends before you even come here, which we all did as well. And all that to say, your assumptions are probably not true. Your assumptions about Oklahoma, your assumptions about Tulsa are probably not true. I think we're all living testimonies for that. It is not a Black people hating city, right? I mean, it is still America. So there's that. That's all I'll say about that. It is still in the United States of America. So take that with a grain of salt, but it definitely is a city full of people who are open to, as I said before, collaborate, communicate, commune, kick it, all of that, and hang out. And it's a community. I mean, it's a city full of opportunities for you to pretty much do whatever you want. And these dope ass people are here, right? And we just said we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So come through, come kick it. Even if you just come visit Tulsa, even if you don't apply, just come hang out in Tulsa and experience it. And let us know when you're in town so that we can see you. All right. Deshawn, Kim, Jateria, thank you so much for joining me. I love hanging out with y'all. Y'all are so fun. And hopefully I see you guys in these streets today. Because I'm going to get out in these streets. I'm about to get in these streets.
You all have fun. I'm staying in.
I'm coming to your house in a little bit, man. I'm gonna come to your house after the brunch and mess with you. I got some Uncle Nearest I'll bring.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Bless.
Take care, y'all.
Bye.
Everybody.